Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to NXT The Game Season 2, Episode 61. We are in front of 4,900 people in North Carolina tonight. Tom Phillips, Nigel McGinnis, and Steve Carino welcome us to NXT. Tom Phillips saying that tonight on NXT, we're going to have one hell of a show. So, of course, this is just our standard announcer segment on the show. Phillips underperformed. Fuck you, Tom Phillips. Oh, excuse my language. Didn't mean to say that. Tom Phillips underperformed. As I've said before, I'm a fan in professional wrestling when we get to see the announcers before the show starts because you're watching them all night, and it's good to see their faces to me. 59C. We see Sanity make their way to the ring. Alexander Wolf teaming with Eric Young tonight as Killian Dane was injured via botch by Dash Wilder 2 weeks ago. So no skill improvements, but Eric Young and Alexander Wolf will be teaming tonight for Sanity as Dane is out 3 to 4 months. 66C plus. So obviously, as I mentioned in my last video, I had big plans for Sanity's tag team out to the gate to take on the Authors of Pain, and of course things have to shift. Alright, in a decent match, the Revival defeats Sanity when Scott Dawson defeats Alexander Wolf with the Shatter Machine. So a 60 for Young, very good. Wolf with a 56. You know, Wolf, we'll have to go back over his ratings a little more slowly in a different video, but he's really been improving, surprisingly actually. Didn't really expect much of him. Saw him on real life NXT not too long ago, and he put a cut a decent promo. Dash Wilder with a 69, Dawson with a 72. Eric Young again is improving in performance, so Eric Young's push will continue. 68C plus. The camera shows Titus O'Neil as he heads outside to pull a limo pulling up. The fans are cheering until the limo stops, the door opens, and Triple H steps out. A shriek is heard as Pete Dunne, the NXT UK champion, steps out behind Triple H, the man who helped Triple H rid NXT Commissioner William Regal for 6 months after defeating Tyler Bate in the center of the ring earlier in the evening to capture to the UK Championship. Titus starts talking to Triple H as they head towards the arena. So Pete Dunne improvised well throughout the segment. That's interesting. Titus O'Neil was confused because other people weren't following a script. Triple H looks good, and the Manifest Destiny storyline has advanced. 69C plus. So for those of you just catching on now, Pete Dunne, had fought his way through NXT UK, which is our developmental brand, much like NXT is the WWE before I broke it off. Obviously NXT is its own brand in this game, so we have NXT UK as our developmental brand. And, Pete Dunne had been fighting to try to get a shot at Tyler Bate. Finally got a shot and defeated him. So, he's a new NXT UK champion. And at NXT TakeOver Legacy, which is our WrestleMania, he helped Triple H defeat William Regal out of nowhere. Triple H, who had been backing Tino Sabatelli, got off that horse, went to the Pete Dunne train, and Pete Dunne, with that arrogant little freaking smile on his face, helped Triple H. So he seems like a Triple H guy to me, maybe. 69C plus. Next, in an extremely short match, Candice LeRae defeats Sonya Deville in 4 minutes with the ball place. Not much here going on. Candice LeRae just getting a victory. 49 for Candice, 36 for Sonya. No work or improvements. 47D. We will continue. The fans cheer and see Bobby Roode, who is shown on the screen, and then boo as Andrade Cien Almas is shown walking up backstage to Bobby Roode. Cien Almas asks Bobby Roode what they're going to do about the NXT Heavyweight Championship, A, not being here, and B, Mr. NXT cashing it. Bobby Roode looks at Almas and says, while he doesn't like what Mr. NXT did, he did nothing wrong. And as far as he's concerned, as soon as he gets the championship back, he's going to cash in and get his guaranteed rematch. Almas reminds Roode that he's also owed a rematch against him, and just because he couldn't defeat Mr. NXT without purposely injuring him, as you recall, Bobby Roode injured Mr. NXT, who then cashed in on Bobby Roode to start Season 2, so a little bit of serendipity there. Doesn't mean that Almas gets skipped in line. He still owed a championship rematch as well. Roode looks at Almas as the two seemingly are getting along for now, if only because the NXT Heavyweight Championship isn't around and we fade out. So basically, again, if you're just catching up, Bobby Roode won at Legacy, his championship back from Almas. Almas would then cash in his rematch to start the first episode of NXT Season 2. He would win. Bobby Roode would then cash in later in the evening, defeat Almas, get his championship back, so Almas was due another rematch, but Mr. NXT would cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase and get the victory. Brodus Clay, debuting as the newest member of the El Ring Alliance, then attacked Mr. NXT, Ruby Riott, another member of the El Ring Alliance, shoved down the contract that William Regal gave to Paul Ellering, presumably for Akam and Razor to take on, for one of them to get a championship opportunity. But Brodus Clay, obviously, with no name on the contract, going to be the one getting that championship opportunity, attacked Mr. NXT and took the contract. So that's where we're at now. The contract is in the mouth, presumably, of Mr. NXT no longer. But the championship is gone. 77 beep, and Titus O'Neil is trying to get that title back. Next up, and about that at Subpar Wrestling in Little Heat, the Velveteen Dream makes his debut and defeat Mark Andrews in 10-18 via disqualification. So Mark Andrews was counted out as he couldn't reach the ring for the 10 count. Velveteen Dream in his debut, 46 performance, 46D. I like it. Not bad at all for the debut of the Velveteen Dream. After the match ends, the Velveteen Dream is standing in the middle of the ring with his arm raised, then motions for a microphone. The Velveteen Dream says it's a crime and shame he's not in the NXT Mega 12 Juniors tournament, but frankly the main reason he isn't is because the entire NXT universe knows that he had been. There would have been no reason to even hold the tournament because he's a dream, baby. So we're going to take these low segment ratings for Velveteen Dream, but we're going to get him out there and see what we can do, see if we have anything with him. It lists him as my #1 top prospect, but he's very low rated in overness. So we're going to keep doing what we can do. I don't like to do pre-show matches out of nowhere on the pay-per-view, but we're probably going to have the Dream get a couple big pre-show matches and victories at TakeOver Specials to try to bump up that popularity because he's really, really low. But he has a really good skill set in this mod, and they seem to like him. So we're gonna push the Velveteen Dream a little bit. Obviously, lower card programs, though. Oh, and by the way, Mark Andrews was a member of the NXT Junior 12 tournament, so he beat a guy actually in the tournament ahead of him. So that's important to note as well. Also important, we see the iconic trio, former NXT Women's Champion Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, and Madison Eagles walking to the ring. Peyton Royce, the former NXT Women's Champion for 364 days, will be in action next. Peyton Royce with a real star. 64C, that's fantastic because she's a great heel on our roster right now, and I want to continue to push her. In a decent match, Peyton Royce defeats Dakota Kai in 7:46 with a leg sweep DDT. She gets a 59 to Kai of 42. The commentary was good. Kai's not suited to gimmick. Billie Kay did some good work at ringside for Peyton Royce of the iconic duo/trio, and a 57C-. So not bad here. Peyton Royce will continue. As the match ends, she is standing in the middle of the ring, motioning to her waist, indicating that she wants a rematch, her contractually guaranteed rematch. And per Titus, before the show started on Facebook Live for the NXT Universe, at NXT TakeOver Rival, she's going to get it. So Peyton Royce, again, was a real star. And this is fantastic news. These are coming out of nowhere, but I'll take it. 63C for the iconic trio. Next, we see Bayley, the NXT Women's Champion, backstage with Becky Lynch and Sasha, having seen what Peyton just did and said, requesting her rematch at NXT TakeOver Rival. Peyton and Bayley are set to cash in her rematch clause as well, because at NXT TakeOver, as we just learned, it'll be Bayley defending against Peyton Royce. So again, that's fine. Bayley was fantastic, which is great. So Bayley is fantastic. Peyton Royce, the woman who will be taking on Bayley, was a star the last two segments. Hopefully Bayley and Peyton Royce can really develop or shine in that match. Peyton Royce was like a 30. She's like a 53 now, so at the end of Season 1 to Season 2. And Bayley's a 52 herself, or 53, so it should be a decently wrestled match. I could probably cheat and get a higher rating and go Diva, but I don't think I'm going to do it for these two women because I don't think I'm going to need to prop up the card at all. And I do that sometimes to make the women's matches eye candy when I need to pop up the rating for a show to kind of help it out a little bit, but I'm not going to need to, I don't think. So we're going to go ahead and go with it as is. So yeah, Bayley and Peyton Royce in just 3 weeks at NXT TakeOver Rival. Next up, Titus O'Neil is seen talking to Triple H backstage as Pete Dunne is standing next to his right with the NXT UK Championship. HS Titus O'Neil, the show is going when the door swings open and Mr. and Mrs. NXT walk in. Mr. NXT goes right to Titus, ignoring Triple H, but looking at Pete Dunne and him having his championship. Remember, he doesn't have his. Mr. NXT asks Titus O'Neil where his championship is, to which Titus responds, ugh. To which Titus responds, look, AOP showed up, Paul Ellering showed up, Brodus Clay did not. Unfortunately, your NXT championship is not here. Triple H says, what? Acting as if he was unaware, in which Titus replies with his hands up. I've talked to Paul, and he assures me next week the NXT Heavyweight Championship will be here on NXT next week. Mr. NXT looks angry, and Mrs. NXT starts cursing at Titus in a way only a woman can when she's upset. The fans laugh. Mr. NXT finishes it would be better. They leave as Triple H and Pete Dunne watch them leave. Triple H noting, I like her, and is willing to give Titus some room to breathe, but not much. So Titus O'Neil, Titus Worldwide, the Titus brand, it's going to be getting a little room because this is on really Triple H and William Regal's watch, but he needs to get the championship to NXT because the NXT Heavyweight Championship needs to be a focus here on the show. As we said, we did it at Angle Sense, having Brodus Clay walk off with it to set up some type of match down the line, or pretty soon, whatever I'm going to end up doing. I'm not telling you guys yet, but to set up a match in the near future. So that's why the title isn't here right now. We're really mixing around with the contender storyline. So, yeah, basically that's where it's at. Pete Dunne improvised well. Mr. NXT struggled a little bit because other people were following a script. Triple H looks good. That's okay. The Manifest Destiny has advanced and get heat. That's also good. 73B-. And the next match, about that fucking amazing wrestling and decent reaction. The Authors of Pain defeat TM61 in 13:57 when A-Count defeats Shane Thorne by pinfall with a Super Collider. They make the 23rd defense of their NXT Tag Team titles. There are times there was a definite lack of psychology. The match drifted, but A-Count seemed off his game. So this is the first time A-Count and Razor were off their game, and they still got high 70s ratings. TM61 low 60s, which is also really good. Worker improvements, no worker improvements, but a 79B between these two teams. Makes me think I may go back to this at the NXT TakeOver special, because I don't necessarily have a tag team title match for AOP planned, given that, as I said earlier, Killian Dane was hurt and Sanity was going to be the first ones out the gate in Season 2 to take on the Authors of Pain. So maybe we'll go the TM61 route, given that DIY is kind of with the Bucks still and the Revival are still kind of hanging out. So we'll see. But a 79B, a very good rating for Authors of Pain and TM61 and the championship title defense. That's surely going to boost the prestige of the title. Next, we go backstage as the camera pans in on the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, backstage as all three are talking. Kenny tells Matt and Nick that he's not scared, not at all, about what Johnny and Tommaso said last week about having a tag team partner to face them at TakeOver Rival. Matt says, for sure, the Elite is not scared of anyone. Nick says, look, we all agree, we aren't scared, but who is it? Kind of playing off that they might be scared a little bit. Kenny Omega goes on to New Day spiel and says, yeah, who? The fans smirk, but seriously, Omega says, who? Matt and Nick Jackson start to name names of the past, and the camera fades out, all three trying to figure out who DIY's partner will be. So Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano revealed that there's a lot of healing going on, and they will be joining a face faction named the House of NXT, something like Game of Thrones, the House of something. But House of something. That's what I'm going with, guys. House of blah. House of NXT, I don't really want to go with, but House of, I don't know. I guess you guys can leave me your comments and suggest names if you have any suggestions for a DIY and Buddy-led faction. Maybe you should wait to see who the Buddy is. But the Young Bucks looks great. Color commentary gave the segment a boost. Steve Corino loved the Bucks. No surprise there. 73B-. Next, speaking of DIY, next week they return to NXT. So DIY will be here next week. And lastly, before the main event, Triple H towards the end of the show is getting up as Pete Dunne gets up, still not having said a word for the entire evening. Triple H says that for the most part, Titus looks like the Titus Worldwide brand, whatever you're calling yourself right now. You're doing a pretty solid job running NXT in Regal stead. Just get me that championship. I do, however, require for you to present the NXT Heavyweight Championship, Titus. Mr. NXT, he's an asshole, but he won the Money in the Bank fair and square, cashed in fair and square, and we need to honor that. With NXT TakeOver Rival just 3 weeks away, we've also yet to name a contender, so figure that out. Triple H looks at Pete Dunne, and the two of them walk out of the room. Titus looks a little bit overwhelmed, but not in a bad way, as Pete Dunne walks back in. Oh, says Pete Dunne, I heard Tyler Bate requested his NXT UK Championship rematch at NXT TakeOver Rival. Tell him I accept. The scene fades out, confirming another match for Rival. So Pete Dunne again was great. I didn't know that he was good improvising, but he is, so we're going to go with it. Triple H with a real star. This is a bummer. Triple H was like a 90 overness, and these ratings are getting 67s. I'm not putting it so Pete Dunne and Titus O'Neil aren't rated, so maybe that's why it's dragging it down, but good God, that's unfortunate. These should be higher rated segments. Alright, on to our main event. In the main event of the evening, Aleister Black defeats Messias Almas in 13 minutes with a roundhouse kick. I forget Almas' finisher's name, but that's what it is. Hits it in 13 minutes, and NXT will go off the air this week with Aleister Black raising his hand in victory. So they got pretty good chemistry, both with 60 and 66. Could be better, could be worse. No skill improvements. So a 75 increased our popularity in 45 regions. That's good. This was NXT The Game, Season 2, Episode 61. NXT The Game, Season 2, Episode 61. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will be back tomorrow or the day after with another edition of NXT, but I believe it's the NXT Super Juniors Day 2, and we'll have to try to schedule that show and book it a little bit smarter, because if you guys recall, the fans weren't so happy with that show. So we'll have to do our best to advance the storyline, make a Super Juniors tournament storyline bracket to try to get some matches advanced. But yeah, this was NXT The Game, Season 2, Episode 61. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back in a day or two with another episode of NXT The Game. Thanks for watching.